Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the 2025 lineup of iPhones sold directly by Apple right now. Some of this could change in the near future with the iPhone SE being replaced with a new model, and two of these phones, or three of them really, are no longer available in the European Union. So I thought we'd compare all of the phones sold directly by Apple on apple.com or within the physical Apple stores. We'll compare everything from battery life to cameras, the overall display, speed, features, and more. Now to start off, we have the iPhone SE 3rd generation. This is said to be replaced soon since it has a Lightning port and it's no longer compliant in the European Union. The same is true with the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus. The iPhone SE starts at $429 and we go all the way up to $1,599 in the United States. The prices could vary outside the US, and it also depends on the storage you get. But with the iPhone SE 3rd generation, we have three different colors: Starlight, Midnight, and Product Red. It's one of the Product Red options still available. With the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus that I don't have right here, this is the blue color, but we also have purple, yellow, Midnight, Starlight, and Product Red as well. With the iPhone 15, Apple decided to go a little bit more on the pastel side, and here we have the green color. We also have a blue color that I have right here, and Apple also offered a black color and yellow color as well. With the iPhone 16 models, Apple brought some color back to life here with a teal color, which is really nice, and they also changed the design a little bit. We also have a nice ultramarine color, as well as a couple other colors with pink, white, and black available. When it comes to the Pro models this year, with the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max, we have Desert Titanium, that's the new color. I also have Black Titanium, which this is my main phone that I use regularly. And then we have the other colors with Natural Titanium and White Titanium as well. When it comes to the overall build of the phones, we have glass front and back on all of them, ceramic shield, which seems to be fairly durable, but more durable on the iPhone 16 models, as this time around, last year, I had a ton of scratches on my display. This one actually has one small scratch. Of course, that would have been prevented with a screen protector, but it seems to hold up pretty well. We have aluminum on all of the phones except the Pro models. So aluminum here. On the Pro, we have titanium, just like we did last year. It adds for lightness, helps using the phone. It feels a little bit lighter in the hand and is just very nice in general. Some people do miss the stainless steel though. Also on the latest phones, whether that's the iPhone 16 or the 16 Pro Max, we have a new camera control button. So we can press that to open the camera. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. And then we also have USB-C on all of these with the exception of the iPhone SE and the 14 and 14 Plus, like I mentioned before. So we've kind of moved away from Lightning, now we're on USB-C. Of course, the iPhone SE still has a fingerprint sensor, and some people may prefer that. When it comes to the display, well, we have an LCD display on the iPhone SE, which is really easy on the eyes. All of the rest are OLED displays. They vary in brightness when you're using them, going very bright at the max level with the Pro phones. However, the non-Pro iPhone 16 models are very good. We have Face ID on all of them, and they seem to do a great job in sunlight, and everything is fast and responsive when it comes to Face ID. However, the non-Pro phones, none of them have ProMotion or 120 Hz displays. That's a bit of a disappointment, I know, for most people, so that's going to be a huge consideration. Some people don't mind if it doesn't have ProMotion, but the ProMotion makes a big difference. You can see that under slow motion at 240 frames per second. As you're scrolling, it makes a very big difference as far as the overall speed and smoothness, just going through the different phones, scrolling, coming back. It's just really nice on the Pro models. It's got a very smooth feel to it, and it's definitely noticeable. Not everyone seems to care about it, but it is something worth noticing. Another thing you'll notice is on the Pro models, we have an always-on display. If I turn off the display here, pressing the sleep-wake button, you can choose to leave the wallpaper on, or you can have the time displayed as well as your notifications. Now, before we talk about the overall speed comparison and how they hold up against one another with features and more, let's talk about the cameras. The forward-facing cameras on all of these is pretty good overall, with the exception of the iPhone SE, as this is a 7-megapixel camera at f2.2 and can record at 1080p 30 frames per second. All of the others can do 4K 60 and have 12 megapixel forward-facing cameras. When it comes to the rear cameras, it's a little bit different though. So most of them are 12 megapixels with the exception of some of the latest devices. So if we flip these over here, With the iPhone SE, we have a 12 megapixel camera, and then on all of the other phones, we have at least two lenses. So we have a 12 megapixel camera and an ultra wide on most of these. We can also do spatial video on the ones that have cameras in alignment. And then we also have 48 megapixel sensors on the iPhone 16 models, as well as a 48 megapixel ultra wide on the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max, along with a 5 times tetraprism zoom lens that allows for 5 times optical zoom and a much better detail when you're trying to zoom from a distance compared to the rest. So I've done a full comparison where we'll take a look at some of the photos in portrait mode, as well as natural bokeh, up close with macro, and much more. So let's take a look at that now. These are the forward-facing cameras of the iPhone 15, the iPhone 16 Plus, and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. This gives you an idea of what they look like from left to right. With the iPhone 15, 16, 16 Plus, and 16 Pro phones, the forward-facing camera is mostly the same. However, we have a new microphone that has 4 different options. So currently you're hearing the regular mode, and then we have a new studio mode. We also have an in-frame mode as well as a cinematic mode. The 16 and the 16 Pro phones both have all of these modes, where the iPhone 15 doesn't. And this is the iPhone SE 3rd generation and the iPhone 14. This gives you an idea as the iPhone SE can only record at 1080p with 30 frames per second, where the iPhone 14 has the same modes as all the other phones at 4K 60 frames per second. However, with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, we can record at 4K 120 frames per second. It will run all day long without any issues with that. So it's definitely the most capable camera. However, let me know which ones you think look best and sound best in the comments below. So they're all very capable cameras, but overall, I think the latest cameras are some of the best I've seen. 4K 120 in the latest 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max with that 48 megapixel ultra wide and zoom camera are definitely the best here. You can also change the overall color processing and more. So if we go into the camera here, not only do we have the camera control button, we can press it to open the camera, we can take a photo with it, we can zoom with it if we want to do that. And we also have some additional options if we double press. We can change things such as the depth and exposure and more. Additionally, we have some options here where if we take a photo, we can fully adjust it. So we have camera control here where we can change the overall tone if we want to away from its natural tone that Apple has chosen for you. You've got HDR photos, videos on most of these, but the tone option really makes it very customizable if you're not using an additional third-party app. Now, when it comes to the overall speed, well, we have different processors varying from the A15 Bionic all the way up to the A18 Pro. With the latest processors, it definitely helps when exporting 4K video. We'll take a look at that in a moment. But first, let's take a look at benchmarks, as that gives us an idea of what it's capable of. Now, when it comes to benchmarks on all of these, you're going to see from the lowest with the A15 Bionic at 2,341 for single core, all the way up to the fastest now with the A18 Pro at 3,516. We also have some pretty great scores when it comes to multi-core, with the lowest being, of course, with the A15 Bionic chipsets at about 5,270, all the way up to over 8,730. So you can see that across all of these, that in theory should give you the best performance, which makes sense from the oldest to the newest. Now, as far as overall speed, well, let's go into Safari here. We'll just load a web page and we'll go into that and see how it handles it. So we'll slide over here and then we'll just load something quickly. And let's go to explore all iPhones. You would expect this to be very fast in general, just exploring all the iPhones, but you're going to see that in general, they're all going to load about the same. So when you load a web page, everything is going to start to animate. It's going to work fine, and it will work that way even on the oldest devices. Apple's really great with that, with just opening things up very simply. So if we go back home and then open up music, you'll see this. It should be generally the same as well. Now, I don't know what's going to be on all of them, and you'll see as I haven't gone into them on all of them, it's going to vary a little bit. But it gives you the idea that in general, it's going to be very similar, whether that's scrolling through all of them or just playing a song. Again, going home, and if we go back in, you'll see things are just very fluid and fast in general, even on the oldest device. So on the iPhone SE, you can just go back in and out as fast as you would want. However, a more intensive task is exporting 4K video. I've actually sent the same video to every single one of these, so let me get that set up and then we can see how fast they export. Now I have just 4 phones set up for exporting. We have the iPhone SE, we have the iPhone 15 Plus, the iPhone 16 Plus, and the 16 Pro Max. I did not include the iPhone 14 because this won't be sold much longer, and also this is on iOS 17, so it won't allow me to upgrade it, and I want to keep iOS 17 on here, and I can't install a new version of iMovie that will allow me to use this project. So let's go ahead and test this out. You'll see all of the apps are closed in the background. We have the same movie in every one of them. And if we go to edit, you can see that here. So if we scroll through, it's the same one. I've used this in other videos. It's an older video I made. So if we go in to the second one here, I'll just modify this briefly to make sure that it has to reprocess everything. And then we'll go ahead and share. So let me get that all set up here, and then we'll share it out here. So we'll tap done. We're ready to export the video. Everything's set to 4K. We're ready to share the video, and keep in mind this is a 3-minute and 47-second video. So let's slide up here so we can save it, and then we'll save, and then we'll start. And let's see how long this takes. Here's the surprising thing is depending on the task, sometimes the iPhone 16 Pro Max is much faster. I've seen this be double the speed of some of the older phones, but then maybe you modified a title like I showed. Then it actually sort of comes back to the same. So when you're working with a 4K video, you can export it on an iPhone SE almost the same speed as the iPhone 16 Pro Max due to some special processing. So that's great news. And you'll see I really didn't need to include all the others as it's very equal across the board. Now, if we do the same thing with Minecraft, so let's go ahead and open it on all devices. I have the iPhone 14 included here. It turns game mode on all of them. We'll give it a second to load. We'll get past all of these screens here. I've updated all of them on all these devices here as well. Let's go ahead and see how long it takes to get into all of them. So we'll just go ahead and create a world. This will give you an idea. So we'll go ahead and tap play on all of them. Create new world. And let's see if we can get these going as fast as possible. So we can create new world here. And now we can create. So let's see if we can get this to go as quickly as we can. We'll start with the oldest first, up to the newest, and proceed. And let's just see what we do. So give it just a second here. Again, this is the iPhone 14 that I had to start last. We're in first on the iPhone 15 Plus, then the iPhone SE and iPhone 16 Pro Max, and the iPhone 16 and iPhone 14 are still going for some reason. So you'll see this can vary from time to time you use this. For whatever reason, the iPhone 16 took the longest, but they should be all super smooth when you use them. So if you're just going in and want to create something, playing it on the iPhone SE, it should be fine. However, the latest processor should stay the coolest as far as the overall heat is concerned. Now, before we talk about battery life, we do have 5G modems in all of these. However, with the iPhone SE, we do not have a millimeter wave antenna like we do with the iPhone 14. However, this is limited to certain areas such as the United States and specific carriers. For example, I've never used it where I live. However, if you have Verizon, typically you'll have the option to use it, especially in a larger city. You can see the antenna here on the iPhone 14. However, we have varying degrees of speed as well. With the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max and 16s, we have upgraded 5G Qualcomm modems that seem to be very fast overall, even faster than the iPhone 15 Pro models. So we do get some speed improvements there, some connectivity improvements, and Apple is said to be working on their own that's coming in the future. But overall, it's pretty good. When it comes to Wi-Fi, we have varying degrees there with Wi-Fi 6 all the way up to Wi-Fi 7 on the latest devices. Most people don't have a Wi-Fi 7 router, but if you do, you'll have that capability in the latest ones, whether that's an Eero Wi-Fi 7 router or another brand. And with regular transfers or regular use, you probably won't notice the difference there, but there is a difference technically with overall speed and capability. Now, when it comes to the battery life, of course, with the iPhone SE being the smallest size, it has the smallest battery, all the way up to the iPhone 16 Pro Max with the largest battery. With the smallest battery, if you're a heavy user or you play a lot of games, you're going to go through the battery probably at least once during the day and need to charge it. They all have wireless charging, but we do have to charge this typically from most people using it pretty heavily. If you're a very casual or light user, you could get through the day. But with the latest iOS 18 versions, on iOS 18.2 being the latest public version and 18.2.1 soon, you probably will have to charge it throughout the day, even on the iPhone 14 and 15 models, depending on how heavy of a user you are. Of course, with the Plus models, they'll get you through the day usually without a problem. Typically, by the end of the day, I can get to about 40% left so far on my 16 Pro Max. It really depends on how much you use it, and if we take a look at it, you'll see here that yesterday I used almost my entire battery with 4 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time. However, if I wasn't running betas regularly, I'd probably get 8 to 9 hours or even 10 hours based on what we have here with 50% usage at 4 hours and 40 minutes. So if you want the best battery, of course, go with the 16 Pro Max as it has the largest battery and best battery efficiency overall. But overall, you can charge all of these about the same speed, but with the 16 Pro, 16 Plus, and the regular 16 phones, you do have the option for wireless charging with Qi 2, as well as up to 25 watts wireless charging. But I wouldn't say that's worth it, as that only lasts for a little bit, and then it slows down to about 15 watts. But it is technically a little bit faster there. When it comes to the IP ratings, well, they are slightly different depending on the overall device. So depending on the iPhone SE, that's the worst IP rating. However, we do have IP67, 1 meter for 30 minutes, and everything else is IP68, 6 meters for 30 minutes. However, I have dropped my phone in the past in the water, and even though it was IP68 or 67, it didn't survive, and it was only under 1 foot of water for about 5 minutes or less. So it really depends. Apple doesn't typically cover water damage unless you have Apple Care Plus, so keep that in mind. When it comes to the speakers, the latest phones sound great. It's really hard to hear that with this type of microphone, but basically you can expect around 85 to 86 decibels or so. The iPhone SE still sounds pretty good, but it's nowhere near as good as the latest phone as far as the overall stereo sound and what it sounds like. When it comes to software updates, well, of course, the latest phones will get software updates well into the future, but with the iPhone 16 through the 16 Pro Max, of course, we have Apple Intelligence. Unfortunately, Apple has only supported Apple Intelligence on the 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, and iPhone 16. They no longer sell the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max new except for outside the Apple Store, so you're basically stuck with the latest phones if you want that capability. It gives you things such as visual intelligence, pressing and holding camera control or camera capture, as some like to call it. You can press and hold, ask questions. You have the new Siri look here when you press and hold. You also have things such as writing tools, Genmoji, Image Playground, where you can create your own images. This may be a big selling point for some, as in the future we'll have additional features with Siri 2.0 and much more. But at this point, it's something that some people really appreciate with the writing tools and others don't really care about. If we go into Notes, within Notes, we have the Apple Intelligence option where we can actually compose something or describe something using ChatGPT. So if I want to compose, I could say, create an outline of a comparison of all of the phones Apple offers today. Then you can send that. It may take a moment. It goes out to ChatGPT and creates an outline of a comparison like I'm doing right now. But again, it can take some time and it definitely heats up the phone overall. And I did not use this to create this comparison, as I would have to double check all of this information. But it does help with different things such as writing tools, maybe overall summaries of things and more. So I really like the notification summary that we have, but I wouldn't say it's worth running out and upgrading just for that until there's some more features. So if you're wondering which iPhone you should choose, well, it really depends on a few different things. If you want the latest technology, definitely go with an iPhone 16 model. The same is true with Apple Intelligence. If you want the latest iOS updates well into the future with Apple Intelligence, go for the latest ones, as they have 8 gigs of RAM, and that's what you need to support Apple Intelligence currently. If you don't care about that and you just want a decent phone with great battery life, well, then the 14 Plus is probably your best bet here. However, the other phones are decent options if you can get them cheap enough. But personally, I would look for the 16 and newer, especially if I was upgrading from maybe a 14 or an SE. That way you have the latest future features, you'll get all of those updates, and the best battery life, displays, cameras, and more. So hopefully that helps you decide which iPhone would be best for you. And it's a lot to cover here, and there's a lot of phones, but again, keep in mind the iPhone SE and 14 and 14 Plus will no longer be available in the near future, and they aren't available in the European Union at this point. So this is what we have: the iPhone 15, 15 Plus, 16, 16 Plus, 16 Pro, and 16 Pro Max, and probably a new iPhone SE 4th generation soon. So hopefully that helped you decide which is best for you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if you're planning on upgrading now, waiting for iPhone 17, or maybe even iPhone 18 or the new 17 Air that we might get. Let me know what you care most about, whether that's battery, camera, or more as well. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.